Chapter 20. The spheres of the activity of the Paradise Trinity members. The same is with the Paradise Trinity. Each member of the Trinity has his sphere of activity as well as his attitude to the whole family creation. And each of them is in contact with one another. But as the Paradise Trinity, they act only when they act all three in making unanimous decisions in respect to creation. They can and do act as three separate persons as well, but in that case they do not act as the Paradise Trinity. The Paradise Trinity takes care of the implementation of justice in the creation family. Therefore, the decisions made by the Paradise Trinity are only such when the options of the three persons making up the Paradise Trinity are absolutely unanimous. Divine justice is not the justice of one person. It is a collective justice. It is not the justice of God the Father, but the justice of all the three eternal and coordinate persons of the Paradise Trinity, and it is always just and perfect. Divine justice is always based on the divine mercy and divine love. It is only due to this that this justice is always perfectly fair and achieves such a degree that even the very creature who has committed even the biggest iniquity sincerely perceives that he has committed it. And it is only then that the mandates of justice are implemented, and by no means sooner. And even at this moment, once the verdict is being passed, it always corresponds to the creature's will. Therefore, for mortals, it is very difficult to grasp the manifestation of divine justice, because from the moment of the crime committed to the pronouncement of the verdict, corresponding to the sincere will of the creature, they might intervene even hundreds of thousands of years, measured by the time of your planet. Nevertheless, according to the Paradise Trinity that transcends time, this intervening span does not exist. Therefore, it is equal to committing a crime, investigating it, sincerely confessing to the crime committed by the wrongdoer, passing the verdict, and carrying it out within the very same moment. Even though to the creatures this moment might really seem to be long and lasting for several 100,000 years, and still the justice of the Paradise Trinity is always triumphant, and it is always perfectly fair. It is always sincerely recognized by all the creatures, even if they make a choice of the annihilation of their personal identity. And it means that this creature shall never be in existence throughout the eternity of creation. And the name of that creature shall be deleted from all the registries of the creation, and it shall be as if that creature has never existed in the creation. And even in this case, it is the implementation of the choice of the creature's will. The Paradise Trinity justice is inevitable, and always is based on love and mercy, but by all means it is. Even though love and mercy are eternal and endless, yet always justice eventually reaches such an expression of its manifestation that a verdict is passed, because even the wrongdoer sincerely chooses the path of the implementation of the mandates of the Paradise Trinity justice. Divine justice never implies even the slightest shade of violence or any other violation of the will of the creature. All the three members of the Paradise Trinity are equally eternal, infinite, omnipotent, loving, serving, and acting in unison. And still each of them has his own sphere of activity, so that by this division they might demonstrate to the whole of creation a perfect cooperation in their relationship of love that must be sought by all the free will creatures. Whatever free will creatures might be created in the lowest spheres of the creation. Meanwhile, the creatures created directly by the three persons, or by any two persons, or even by any one person of the Paradise Trinity, are all perfect and full of love and perfection. Even that perfection, as is being demonstrated by these parents of creation. But even these created and perfect creatures have their own free will, and they may use it against the Paradise Trinity will. However, this sort of a free will expression has never been registered in the course of a tremendous long history of creation that stretches back to the billions upon billions of years to a faraway past. All the violations have been done by such creatures who have not originated directly from the Paradise Trinity, but rather from the Trinity created creatures that also possess both the right and power delegated to them by the persons of the Paradise Trinity to create lower beings. The first person of the Paradise Trinity, God the Father, has delegated all his rights to his original Son, the Eternal Son, whom he had created alone by himself. And the Universal Father has created no other personalities alone. Since the creation of the original and eternal Son, God the Father does not create any other personality in any other manner but in pair with the Eternal Son. The same might be said of the Eternal Son. He does not create any personality alone. He always creates together with the Father, or with the Infinite Spirit, the third person of the Paradise Trinity. The Father delegates to them all these creative powers out of a perfect and eternal love for them. And this passing of his powers delivers the Father from such an absolute pressure within him, because now it is shared with the other two members of the Paradise Trinity. However, the Father can take all the delegated powers back at any moment, but he has never done it during all the past eternity. And yet, even now, the Universal Father is the only Paradise Trinity member who bestows one exclusive gift, the gift of personality. And when personalities are created by the other two members of the Paradise Trinity, or when the creatures created by them produce still other creatures, it is always the Father who bestows the gift of personality upon these created persons. There has never been an exception in which it would have been otherwise. Therefore, the Father, out of himself, has emitted the personality circuit throughout creation. Out of this perfect and eternal channel leading from the Father, and which emanates from the personal and spiritual Father himself, the gift of personality is bestowed even upon such a creature who is at the greatest distance from the Father, as a material mortal, whose original form, a material body, as a helpless babe is born out of intimate relationship of a woman and a man. The Eternal Son is the first spiritual personality that has originated from the Father. Therefore, he is the absolute personality and the absolute spirit. Thus, the Eternal Son of himself spreads out the spiritual circuit, and all free will creatures may make use of their spiritual growth due to this spiritual circuit spread out to all by the eternal Son. No one could have ever grown in spiritual height in any other way but thanks to the existence of the spiritual circuit of the eternal Son. The circuit is inviolate. Whatever might happen throughout creation, the spiritual circuit of the eternal Son shall exist forever and shall always be available to free will creatures, however much they might be isolated in the lower segments of creation. It is through this spiritual circuit that all prayers reach the Father and the Son. The third person of the Paradise Trinity, the Infinite Spirit, has hardly been created by the other two members of the Paradise Trinity. Then he has become the God of action, or the conjoint actor. He acts together with the Father and the Eternal Son, while creating the personalities that make up an enormous core of the clever-minded creatures of the merciful ministry of the Infinite Spirit. It is to his sphere that the creation of the vast seraphic multitude belongs. And the Infinite Spirit has an exclusive circuit, the circuit of mind. All the clever creatures in creation received their mind from the Infinite Spirit through his circuit of mind. As the Eternal Son is the absolute personality and spirit, so is the Infinite Spirit, the absolute mind, and everything that has relation to the mind activity throughout all creation operates in no other way but through the Infinite Spirit. The Universal Father, the source of the Absolute Spirit and of the Absolute Mind, has thus delegated every sphere of his activity he could delegate to his other two coordinate partners. He has left to himself the sphere of personality and free will bestowal. These spheres are indivisibly interrelated because a personality is such a life category that has a free will. Why the Father has left to himself the sphere of conferring personality and free will, I do not know. It is only the Father himself and his two coordinate partners in the Paradise Trinity that know it. They are omniscient. We might only imply that this activity division has been performed by the Father because of his desire to share these coordinate circuits with his coordinate partners, whom he loves, and to leave to himself only the circuit that is most likely inseparable from the Father. However, this is only a speculation by us. Lower spiritual creatures, even though of perfect status. Not everything available to the three persons of the Paradise Trinity is available to the beings created by them, at least in the present universe age.